Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. Today, we're going to try to get into something a lot of people find pretty interesting: proprietary trading. You know, that whole world. And you guys sent in some really great excerpts from this book, One Good Trade by Mike Bellifiore.
Yeah.
So we've got an expert here to kind of help us make sense of it all.
Yeah. It's a very interesting book, not just if you want to be a trader yourself, but even if you're just interested in how people make decisions when the stakes are really high and how people perform under pressure.
Yeah. It seems like you picked up on a lot of those themes because it doesn't seem like it's just like a manual, like a how to be a trader book. It
Yeah.
really goes into the culture of prop firms and what actually makes people successful and also what makes them fail, which seems like a pretty big part of it too.
Yeah. Bellafiore definitely doesn't try to hide the fact that it's a tough business.
Uh,
There are a lot of stories about traders who don't make it and they make big mistakes
yeah.
and, just ultimately can't handle it.
Right. Yeah. In fact, the book opens with this story about a guy named Angel Cuevas who really wanted to work at a prop firm, and he just would not take no for an answer. And it kind of sets the stage for what you need in terms of drive and ambition.
Yeah. I mean, Angel's story really shows why people are drawn to prop trading.
Yeah.
The chance to make a ton of money. But it also makes it clear that it's not for everybody. They are looking for a very particular kind of person, someone who has a really unique combination of skills and personality.
And Bellafiore actually uses this term good fit. Like, are you a good fit for this world?
Hmm.
And a lot of the book is about figuring out what that actually means. Like, he tells a story about this guy, Franchise, the super competitive former athlete. And even he struggled at first to make a consistent profit. I mean, to really get over that hump.
Yeah, and Franchise had that drive, intense desire to get better, to push himself further. And you need that in prop trading, but it's not enough. You also got to be able to handle the stress of it, to learn really fast from your mistakes, and be tough enough to come back from losses.
And speaking of pressure, there's this really funny story where Bellafiore randomly runs into Joe Biden on his way to a job interview.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just this totally random thing that shows how unpredictable this whole path can be.
It's almost like a little reminder that becoming a good trader, a successful trader,
Yeah.
it's not always a straight line. You got to be able to think on your feet, like you did there.
Yeah.
Adapt to new situations.
And that leads to a really big idea in the book, adaptability. I mean, Bellafiore has been through a lot of different markets, right? Like the Asian financial crisis, the dot-com bubble, the housing crisis. And he says that if you want to last, you have to change with the market.
Yeah. There's even a part where he just straight up says, I adapt. But what's cool is that he links that to his whole philosophy of one good trade. It's not just reacting to the market changing. It's a whole way of thinking about how to be successful consistently.
Okay. So let's talk about that, the one good trade idea. What exactly are we talking about here? What are the main things that make it more than just a cool saying?
Well, Bellafiore has these 7 key ideas: being prepared, working hard, patience, managing risk, being disciplined, making detailed plans, and always evaluating yourself. It's a way of looking at the whole picture, both the mental part and the practical side of trading.
And he doesn't just like list them out, right? He uses examples from real trades to show what he means. Like moneymakers trade with AIG during that whole financial crisis.
Yeah, that's a great example. AIG was going down fast, and moneymakers saw a chance. Based on the news that the founder was coming back to try and fix things, he had a plan, knew where he wanted to get in and get out, and the key thing is he stuck to it, didn't let his emotions get the better of him.
So it's not like getting lucky or having secret information, right? It's more about having a process, doing your homework, and being mentally strong enough to carry it out, even when things are going crazy around you.
Exactly. And that kind of brings us to this whole thing about how often people fail at prop trading.
Mm.
Bellafiore doesn't try to sugarcoat it. He talks about this guy, the butcher, who just didn't have the work ethic, didn't think it was important to write down his trades and how they went. And, well, as you can imagine, he didn't last very long.
Yeah. The butcher seems like almost like a stereotype of a trader, someone who just thinks it's about gut feelings and quick wins. But I guess he represents a real danger, right? A way of thinking that can really mess you up.
Oh, yeah. And seeing how the butcher failed shows some of the traps new traders fall into. Not listening to the people with experience, no discipline, thinking they'll get rich fast, being stubborn, and not changing when they need to.
And then there's Smiley, who was great when he was winning, but he just couldn't cut his losses. I think we can all relate to that a little, even if we don't trade. That fear of saying, okay, I messed up.
Yeah. It's like a mental block. And Bellafiore really stresses that to be a good trader, you got to be tough mentally. Be able to control your emotions. You got to be able to separate yourself from what's happening, figure out what you did wrong, and just move on.
So we've talked about why people want to do prop trading, what makes some people better at it than others, and why some people just completely fail. But how do these traders actually pick what to trade? What are they looking for in the market?
Well, Belfiore is a big believer in what he calls stocks in play. These are the stocks that are moving a lot, where there's a lot of volume and there's a lot of volatility, usually because of some news or something else going on.
Like he gives this example of Steve Spencer, who made money off MGM just because he heard a tip in a morning meeting. Shows how these guys are listening to every little thing in the market.
Exactly. And that's why this approach is so popular for short-term traders, guys who are in and out of trades within the same day. It's not about trying to guess what the market's going to do in the long term. It's about finding the places where your skills can really shine.
But some people say that all the algorithms and high-frequency trading have made reading the tape obsolete. You know, that whole thing about watching the orders come in and figuring out what the market's thinking. What does Bellifiore say about that?
That's a good question, and it's something we'll get into a bit later. I mean, Bellifiore has seen it all firsthand, going from fractions to decimals, electronic trading taking over, how the hybrid system changed the NYSE floor. He's been there through it all.
So he's seen it all change, but he doesn't think reading the tape is dead.
Right. He says there are still chances out there for traders who are good, especially those who know the old ways, but also understand how the algorithms are working and affecting things.
He uses this example of G-Man, who avoided a huge loss in FSLR, First Solar, because he was reading the tape and saw that the algorithms were about to push the price way down.
It's like a perfect example of how human intuition, that experience, can still give you an edge. Even in this world where everything's so fast and computerized, reading the tape, it's about understanding people, right? Like how they react. And that's still important.
So it's not just about finding the right time to buy, it's knowing when to get out. Cut your losses before things get really bad.
Exactly. Which brings us to scoring. Belfiore really pushes that idea. Like, it's a big part of being a successful trader.
And he says it's not just making good trades, it's about getting the most out of every trade, squeezing out every last bit of profit.
Yeah. He breaks it down into 3 parts: adjusting for time of day, managing your tier size, and being mentally flexible.
Time of day adjustments, what's that all about?
Well, he noticed that some strategies, some stocks, they just work better at different times. Like maybe there's more action in the morning or a particular stock moves more in the afternoon. It's about seeing those patterns and changing how you trade based on that.
Makes sense. And tier size management, is that about managing your risks?
It is. It's about knowing that not all trades are the same. So you might have to change how much you're putting in depending on the stock, what the market's doing, even how confident you feel.
There's even that funny story about Bella, who realizes she's become like the manager while she's trying to get her loss limit raised. It shows how important it is to know your own limits and not let your emotions make your decisions for you.
It's also a reminder that everyone needs help, even traders who've been doing it for a while. They need guidance, someone to learn from. And that's a big part of the book, too, how important it is to have a mentor.
Like the story of Dr. Momentum, this really smart young trader who was struggling because the market was changing. And it was the other traders, the ones with more experience, that helped him get back on track.
And KW, who said that being around all these other skilled traders at the prop firm, that's what made him learn so much faster. It shows how important it is to have that support system, people to share ideas with, to learn from their mistakes, people who push you to get better.
Bellifiore really believes that trading isn't something you do alone. You got to find your people, learn from the best, and always be trying to improve.
And that brings us back to the whole one good trade idea. It's not just about the trades themselves. It's about the things that make you successful over the long term. Hard work, dedication, knowing yourself, and always wanting to get better.
He talks about Tickster, who wasn't doing so well at first, but had a lot of potential. And Bellifiore saw that and kept pushing him, saying, "You're going to be the next great trader."
It just shows you how powerful belief can be and how important mentors are. They can spot talent and help it grow. And it's not just about cheering people on. It's also about being clear about what you expect, making sure people are doing what they should be doing, and sometimes having those tough conversations when they're not.
He even talks about how you have to be firm with traders, sometimes even call them out or push them harder than they want. He calls it tough love. And he says it's really important to help them develop that mental toughness and discipline they need.
Right, and that's what makes prop firms different. They have the resources, the structure to do that kind of mentoring. They can handle losses, take chances on new traders, provide a safety net that you wouldn't get trading on your own.
He mentions Shrinkage, who was always complaining about the loss limits, and Belfiore had to step in and say, look, this is for your own good. You got to focus on quality over quantity, learn to manage your risk. Yeah, tough, but if you want to be successful in the long run, you gotta learn it.
It's about changing that mindset from get rich quick to build a real career. Prop firms are thinking long-term, investing in their traders, building a culture of excellence.
And data's a big part of that. He
Yeah.
talks about the SMB Chop Tracker, this tool they made to track which stocks traders do best with, their best time of day, their profit per trade. It's like data-driven mentoring.
It's all about using data to see what people are good at and what they need to work on, to track how they're doing and make changes. Takes the guesswork out of mentoring and makes the guidance more specific.
And then there's Secret Project X, this mysterious training program they created. Sounds kind of like boot camp for traders.
He describes it as a way for traders to really get into the nitty-gritty of practicing, sharpening their skills in a fake environment before they use real money. It's about having a safe space to try things out, to learn, and where messing up is seen as a chance to get better.
But he's also honest about the challenges that prop firms face, like making sure people follow the rules, preventing traders from blowing up their accounts, and keeping that culture of discipline.
He even tells a story about having to fire a trader for answering his girlfriend's calls while he was supposed to be trading. Sounds funny, but it shows how focused and committed you have to be in this environment.
It's not just a job, it's a whole way of life. And it's a way of life that keeps changing. He talks about going from fractions to decimals, electronic trading taking over, the hybrid system, and how it changed the NYSE floor. These are all things that have reshaped the whole trading landscape.
He even touches on how close the whole U.S. financial system came to collapsing in 2008, and how that changed trading strategies and the whole market. It's a reminder that even the best traders, they're still part of a bigger system, a system that can be affected by things they can't control.
But through all of those changes, Bellifiore says that the basics of being a good trader haven't changed. It's like he compares it to basketball. He says that even though the game's changed over the years, the basic stuff like shooting, passing, dribbling, those are still the things you gotta know. It's about using those fundamentals in this new environment.
Exactly. And that's where having a good mentor comes in. It's about passing on that knowledge, that experience, helping the new traders figure out this crazy world and teaching them how to adapt their skills to stay ahead.
He even compares the mindset of a good trader to a cheetah. You know how focused and relentless they are? Like a predator going after its prey?
Yeah, it's a pretty intense image. But it really gets across how much you have to commit to this. But it's not all about individual talent, right? It's about having the right people around you, being part of a team, and learning from each other.
He really stresses building a strong team, sharing what you know, celebrating each other's wins. It's that feeling of being in it together, that shared purpose that really drives their performance.
And Bellifiore is really open about his own screw-ups. He talks about trades that went bad, lessons he learned the hard way, and how important it is to stay humble, especially in a business where it's easy to let your ego get out of control.
He even tells this story about bragging to some random guy on the subway about this trade. He was sure it was going to be a winner. Of course it wasn't. The trade tanked, and it was a good reminder that you can't be sure of anything in the market.
Yeah. It's a good lesson in not getting too cocky. You got to be able to step back from the result, focus on what you're doing, and keep your emotions in check, especially when things aren't going your way.
He even talks about using visualization, mental exercises, to help you get ready for those setbacks and keep a positive mindset.
He says trading's kind of like a high-pressure sport, where being mentally strong is just as important as having the skills. And like any athlete, traders need to train their minds, stay focused, manage the stress, and bounce back from tough times.
He tells this story about a trader who couldn't bring himself to hit his stop-loss points. Even when it was clear the trade was going against him, turned out he was terrified of admitting he was wrong, and it was holding him back.
Happens a lot. And Bellifiore gives some good advice on how to get past those mental blocks. He even suggests working with a trading psychologist, someone who can help you figure out what's holding you back mentally and work through it.
But in the end, he says the most important thing is having a good mentor, someone who's been through it all and can guide you.
Yeah. He says a good mentor is like a coach, someone who can see your weak spots, help you build on your strengths, and reach your full potential. And that brings us back to the pyramid of success. Bellifiore applies that to the world of trading.
He shows how those classic principles like working hard, being prepared, having discipline, always learning, those are the things that lay the foundation for success in anything, really.
It's a reminder that there are no shortcuts. It's about putting in the work, learning from your mistakes, and always trying to get better.
So even though we've been talking about prop trading, I think there's a lot in this book that anyone can use no matter what they do, especially if you're in a field that's really competitive.
Totally. Being able to adapt, discipline, being mentally tough, managing risk, and the importance of having mentors, those things apply everywhere.
So as we wrap this up, what's the one big thing you want our listeners to take away? What's the most important thing they should remember from one good trade?
I think Bellifiore sums it up perfectly when he says, trading is the best job in the world, but only for those who do all the things necessary to succeed. It's about being passionate, being dedicated, and never stopping trying to master your craft.
And whether you're a trader, an entrepreneur, or just someone who wants to reach their full potential, I think there's a ton of wisdom in this book that you can apply to your life.
It's all about finding what you're truly passionate about, getting really good at it, and being around people who inspire you to be your best self.
That's a great way to end it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into proprietary trading.
It's been great being here.